Most people think the next gold mine is only in flashy products and crazy new inventions. But what if I told you that the biggest brands sell the most boring products? Method turned dish soap into a premium product and now prints millions a year. Yeti turned a simple cooler into a $400 status symbol. And Stanley went from a forgotten thermos company to a cup every girl wanted to own. They did it by changing how people saw an ordinary product. But you don't have to be a genius to do this. I've spent years studying the brands that stand out, and after working with multiple businesses across multiple different industries, I've noticed the same patterns over again and again. Here are 3 principles they all use. The key here is the brands that dominate their category don't just sell ordinary products, they make people feel differently about them. For example, pots and pans are things generally put away in cabinets and they're hidden. But Caraway redesigned it in pastel colours, and now it's something you want to leave out on display. And every purchase lays another brick in the story people are telling themselves. Or check out Who Gives a Crap toilet paper. They took boring toilet paper, wrapped it in premium packaging, and built a brand people were proud to buy. This is what separates brands that get bought once against brands that build a loyal cult around them. And for the business owners building the next generation of brands, that layer of meaning is the difference between a product people simply buy and a brand people genuinely remember. So here are the 3 principles behind how I believe the best brands are doing it. The first principle is perception, and I want to be clear about what perception actually means. Perception isn't a rebrand, it's not a new color palette or a prettier logo. Perception is a story that changes what an ordinary product means without changing what it is. The best example of this is a brand called Liquid Death. They sell canned water, and that's it, water. One of the most commoditized products on the planet. Every brand in that space was selling health, purity, hydration, clean imagery, blue tones, nature shots. Liquid Death asked a different question entirely. What if water had attitude? So they put it on a tall boy can and they named it like a heavy metal band. Their tagline is Murder Your Thirst. Their marketing looks more like a punk rock concert than a drinks brand. And they built an entire brand around the idea that choosing what you drink is actually a statement about who you are. They didn't change the product, they changed the story around it. And that story turned canned water into a brand worth over $1 billion. That's perception. It's about what your product means to the person buying it. And here's where most brands stop. They find a different angle. They make it look good. They think that's the job done. It isn't. Because perception gets people to notice you, but it doesn't make them stay. And to make them stay, you need to go one layer deeper. The second principle here is identity. And this is what turns a one-time purchase into a loyal customer. Once your product feels like it was made for someone, the next question is, what does owning this say about who I am? Because the best brands aren't selling a product, they're selling a reflection of who their customer believes them to be. When someone buys Gymshark, they're not buying gym clothes, they're buying a cheaper option with the same quality. They're buying the identity of the person they're working towards. The athlete, the disciplined one, the one who takes it seriously. When someone buys Glossier, they're not buying skincare, they're buying into the idea that they're the kind of person who does simple things well, effortless, natural, ahead of the trend. The product simply becomes a mirror. It reflects something the customer wants to see themselves in, or something they want the world to see them in. And every single time they use it, the story gets reinforced. When your brand gets specific about who that person is, when your copy speaks directly to them, and when your visuals show their world back to them, you stop being a brand they've heard of and start being a brand they belong to. And there's still one more layer, and this is what separates the best brands that are successful from the brands that become cultural. The third principle is world building. And I want to define this properly because it gets thrown around a lot and most people misunderstand this. World building isn't a color palette. It's not an aesthetic Instagram grid. It's building a universe around your brand that your customers genuinely want to live inside and wants to pull other people into. The best example of this is Starface. Starface sells pimple patches, one of the most embarrassing hide it at all costs categories in beauty. Every other brand in this space was selling solutions, clear skin promises, clinical photography, before and after shots. But Starface did the opposite. They asked what if acne wasn't something to hide? So they made their patches into bright yellow stars. Their content wasn't clinical, it was colourful, playful, human. They built a world where your skin isn't the problem to be fixed, it's just skin. And that world is what turned pimple patches into something people post about, wear in public, and talk about without being asked. They didn't invent a new formula, they changed the shape of the patch and built a universe around that different belief. And that belief is what made Starface a cultural moment. That's what world building does. It stops people from just buying into your product and it makes them represent it. Now here's the full picture. Perception makes them see you differently, identity makes them see themselves differently through you, and world building makes them feel like they belong to something bigger than the product itself. So how do you actually use this? 3 simple moves. First, find the gap in your story. Look at your category or the category you're thinking about entering and ask, what story has not been told here? Who's being ignored? And what identity is nobody speaking to? That's where you start. Second, build the principles in order. Start with your perception. Change what the product means before you change anything else. Then build your identity around that. Get really specific about who the person is and what they want to say about themselves by owning it. Then layer in the world. Create something that person wants to belong to, talk about, and bring other people into. Each principle earns you the right to the next. You can't build a world people want to live in if they don't feel like the product was made for them in the first place. And third, think past the product itself. The brands winning in boring categories aren't winning on quality or features, they're winning on the story that surrounds that product. The packaging, the content, the community, the language they go ahead and use. Every single touch point is a chance to make the customer feel something. So here's where I'm going to leave you. Stop fighting to stand out in categories everybody is already crowded into. The real opportunity is in the aisles nobody's wanting to pay attention to. The products people buy every single day without thinking. The brands they couldn't name if you asked them. That's not a problem, that's an opening. And the brands that do that first and they do it well tend to win for a very long time. So the next time you're in a shop, actually put your phone down, look around, notice what's screaming for a better story. Notice who's being ignored. Notice the product you've bought 100 times and you couldn't name the brand behind it. And that's your opening. And if you want help building your own brand world, check out our website where my team of brand identity and strategy experts can help you dominate your category.